Historically, the earliest Tamil kings emerged from an agrarian society. In the post-Sangam period, agricultural land became a sign of social prestige and power. Land and associated rights became the center of almost all activities. Epigraphic evidence shows the pattern of rights and control over the agricultural land by the Vellalar. Vellalar are one of the ancient ruling and landowning communities in South India and Sri Lanka. They have a long cultural history that goes back over 2 millennia in southern India. Tamil scholar V. Kanagasabha writes that among the pure Tamils, the class most honored was Arivars, the sages. Next in rank to the Arivars were Ulavar, the farmer, and Vellalar, the landlord. The Arivars were ascetics, but of the men living in society, the Vellalars occupied the highest position. They formed the nobility, or the landed aristocracy, of the country. The earliest occurrence of the term Vellalar in Sangam literature is in Paripadal, where it is used in the sense of a landowner. They were also called Vellalar, lords of the flood, or Karalar, lords of the clouds, titles expressive of their skill in controlling floods and in storing water for agricultural purposes. Vellalar claim their ancestry from the Velir chieftains. This is to some extent supported by archaeological evidence. The Velir were regional chiefs and landowners in some hilly tracts of ancient Tamilagam around the beginning of the Common Era. They were sometimes vassals and sometimes rivals of the Chera, Chola, and Pandya kings. Sangam texts very specifically identify the Velir as an ancient community. The political geographical units of Nadu were organized and administered by Velir. The term Nadan has been used as an epithet of Velir in Sangam literature. Land revenue was the main source of income for the chiefs. The Tamil literature mentions Irai and Thire as two types of contributions received by the Velir chieftains. While Irai was a regular contribution, Thire was a tribute. The early medieval economy of South India became structured and functioned around land. The system of land grants became a common feature and incorporated almost all kinds of lands. The imperial Chola state policy of land grants undermined traditional common holdings by creating a class of private landholders made up of Vellalar and other important officials in the Chola Mandalam. The kings of the medieval period realized the importance of agriculture, the revenue from which was the main basis of their wealth and strength. Nadu emerged as the main, lasting unit of administration. Nadu was comprised of many ur, or villages. It is significant that Nadu was the basic political unit in Pallava and Chola times. An important prerequisite for becoming a member of the ur, or Nadu, was to be a holder of land. The Nattars were the representatives of Nadu. The Vellalars, who were village headmen and landlords, bore the title Udayar. From the inscriptional evidence, we come to know that the members of the Ur also possessed titles like Udayar, Kilan, Velan, Perariyan. In the period of Rajraja Chola and the subsequent period, various feudatory chiefs were subjugated, and the earlier category of Nadu was regrouped into Valnadu and placed under the subdued chiefs. There are several inscriptions that give us information about Nadus. Chitiramili, implying a beautiful plough, was a supralocal organization of the peasants with cordial relations with the assemblies of merchants and artisans. Nattar was subservient to the will of the ruler. Nattar also bestowed land on temples. They also served as stockists for donations made to temples. A large number of inscriptions record the land donations by the Vellalars to the temples. Some feudatory chiefs in the Chola Mandalam had the title Nadalvan. One such Adayur Nadalvan was called Chola Ilango Velar. He was the Nattar of Thiramur Nadu and lived in the 12th century. Some of the Vellalar who had the title Velan or Muvendvelan are mentioned in the inscriptions. Vellalars succeeded in controlling and possessing vast tracts of cultivable land and transforming their social and economic position as substantial peasant proprietors and landlords. Saiva Siddhanta is a form of Saivism, popular in South India and Sri Lanka, that propounds a devotional philosophy with the ultimate goal of experiencing union with Shiva. It draws primarily on the Tamil devotional hymns written by Saiva saints from the 5th to the 9th century, known in their collected form as Thirumurai. The Saiva Agmas and the Mekanda Shastras are now considered to form the scriptural basis of the Saiva Siddhanta in South India. Adheenams were the centers of Saiva Siddhanta, where many new texts were composed, as well as the libraries and repository of ancient and medieval manuscripts, where the old texts were preserved and decaying copies replaced over the centuries. The historical role of Adheenams as knowledge and service repositories is attested in early texts as well as in many historical inscriptions found in temples and monasteries. From the Chola period on, membership in the Tamil Saiva cult stabilized, being composed predominantly of prosperous Vellalars, who ranked high in the regional social class hierarchy. The Vellalars also contributed to the Bhakti movement in South India from the 7th century onward and helped revive Saivam and Vainavam. The authorized heads of Tamil Saiva Adheenam, which flourished in the 14th century and earlier, have traditionally been Vellalars. Scholars and historians identify the Kalabhras with the Kalapalars section of the Vellalar. Historian Burton Stein, who has done a detailed analysis of Chola inscription, equates the Valangai military forces and the Velekara troops of the Cholas with the Vellalars, and notes that the contents of the inscription confirm this identification. The Vellalar families who conquered the Andhra region were called Velamas, and the great zamindars there still belong to the Velama caste. The Canaries country, which was mostly inhabited by Vellalar, was called Gangwadi in the 10th and 11th centuries. Another dynasty of kings of this tribe, who ruled Odisha in the 11th and 12th centuries, was known as the Gangavamsa. They were called Gangakula because they derived their descent from the powerful tribe named Gangavadi, which inhabited the valley of the Ganga, as mentioned by Pliny and Ptolemy. The Vellalars of Sri Lanka have been chronicled in the Yalpana Malai, and historical texts of the Yalpana kingdom narrate the migration of Nattar chiefs from South India. Vellalar chiefs from the Malavar and Gangayar clans were appointed to administrative offices by the Yalpana king, Singayarya. In the course of history, various people from diverse backgrounds and non-cultivating, landholding communities have identified themselves as Vellalar. During the 11th century, the Vellalar attempts to take control of the lands can be seen as a first major step in the direction of mobility. They increased their efforts to establish control over land in the Kongu region and the Kaveri Valley, where a substantial population of Vellalar peasants existed. In the latter half of the 11th century, there is an impressive process of change in their conditions when Vellalar shift from the status of cultivator to that of landlord.